Yeah, I bet I had really. Hello everybody. God is my judge, so take that how you want. Now, without being rude, I'm going to presume, and I don't often presume things because it's a bad idea, presuming or assuming. Everybody's learned to read and write, have they? Okay, if anybody hasn't, don't worry, it's not a bad thing. It's actually not a bad thing at all. Anybody know what style they were taught?
Sorry?
What style were you taught?
Cursive. English.
Pentatonic?
I like that. Don't believe this at all, don't believe this. No, you... right, okay. Here we go. Printing. I'm going to start with the Bible because it's very interesting. In 1365, a chap called John Wycliffe, a Yorkshireman, translated the Bible from Latin, I think, or was it Greek? Could have been Latin or Greek, into English. And he wrote it by hand. So I think there's about 4 or 5 copies of it still somewhere. Don't know if they're original. But 40 years after he died, the Vatican said they want to dig up his bones and scatter them all over Christendom because they didn't like what he wrote. They didn't like his translation of the Bible. And a chap called Jan Hus, a Czechoslovakian chap, he was going around the world telling everybody they should read the Wycliffe Bible because it's different to the other one, which was the Vatican one at the time. And he got burnt at the stake, and his last words apparently were reported as being, in 100 years' time, someone's going to come along who you cannot ignore. He was wrong. It was actually 102 years. And his name was Martin Luther. And he went to Wittenberg, and he nailed his 95 whatever's up on the wall. And things got interesting. Then we got into the, what's it called, the Gutenberg the Bible, the original one, 1440, something like that, Latin Bible, so nobody could understand it. And then, along comes William Caxton, the first English book printed in English. What do you think it was? Bible? No.
Not with an A to Z?
I like that. No, it was a book called The Recoil of the History of Troy. Indeed. Now, why would anybody want to make the first book in English about Troy? You know, this mythological place. I'll tell you why. I'm from Devon, and I live near Totnes, and in 1500 BC or thereabouts, Brutus sailed up the River Dart and made his home Totnes. And from there we have pretty much the common law system that we now have, or that is being destroyed. Okay, so we've got it from the Trojans. The Trojans gave us the basic common law. Then he got into the printing press. Now, printing is interesting. Every printing establishment has a style. So they have to produce a manual of styles. Now, I would imagine that most of you here have been taught by the Oxford Manual of Styles. It's this one. It's quite thick, so you probably haven't read it. But this tells you, I love this, avoid all capital letters. But it doesn't tell you why. We'll come to that. In this book, I think it's in 1906, something like that, Cambridge University Press decided that they were going to hand over their manual of styles to the Chicago Manual of Styles. This has become the worldwide English style manual. Most legal stuff, it's all the printing, it's all done with this. And this does tell you a little bit about all capitals, and I'll read you this. $11.44. What's the point in putting things in when they fall out? There it is. Right. You'll love this. All capital letters. The written language transcription of a sign language, okay, is called a gloss. Glosses are words from the spoken language written in small capital letters, like small capital letters, all capital letters, or alternatively regular capital letters may be used. When two or more written words are used to gloss a single sign, the glosses are separated by hyphens. Okay? So you've got capital letters. You see this, for example? That's a glosser. This one here. And it's not separated by hyphens, so it's actually a poison. Glosser, poisons. I know, it's complicated. So anything written in capital letters is not descriptive English, which is what you were taught to read and write. Okay? I'm going to go to the Bible now. I love this. The very first chapter of the Bible tells us verse 27 of the first chapter. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. Okay? So in the first chapter, God, capital G, small o, small d, created man, male and female. And on the seventh day, they had a party. They had a great time. They blessed what they created. It was fantastic. They had a great time. And there's an interesting break here where they go from the first chapter to the second chapter. They've skewed it. It really should be the fourth verse of the second chapter that should be actually the beginning of chapter 2, but it's not. Chapter 2 says, Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. Right. 4, verse 4, chapter 2. These are the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created in the day that the Lord God, and that's capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D, made the earth, made the earth and the heavens. And it goes on that he's looking around, this Lord God, he's saying, what a great place, what a fantastic place, but there's no man. I need man here to till the soil. Now there's no mention before of any tilling going on. It's all, everything is there, supplied for us. It's all there. So what I think's happened here is that the Lord God is where they created the person. You know about the person? Everybody knows about the person, do they? Is anybody not sure what a person is? That's great. Go on, explain to me. Right. Okay, according to the Representation of the People Act 1983, section 202, a person includes, which I love that word, includes association corporate or unincorporate. In law, the word includes means that's it. Whatever comes after the word includes, that's it. You might read it and think, oh, it means me and that. No, it means just that. So a person is an association, corporate or unincorporate, a company, a business, a legal fiction. Good, okay. In fact, I was looking in a lovely old dictionary the other day. I looked in I love books, dictionaries, and I looked up the word, what's the word? Authority. Now, in the modern Oxford Dictionary, it says power. Simple. In my lovely old Nuttall's Standard Dictionary of 1890, it says legal power. Okay, so you have to know there's a difference. You guys know there's a difference between legal and the other stuff. I know you do. Now I'm going to get onto the birth certificate. I love the birth certificate. Do you know about the four corner rule?
Many of them won't.
Many of them won't. Okay. Anything within four corners doesn't apply to anything else. What I mean by that is, here's my birth certificate, and funny enough, today's my birthday. I have to explain, it's not the day I was born. We're coming there. This is a copy of my birth certificate, and you'll see it's got all these four corners. So none of these boxes apply to each other. They're all separate. Okay? Here it says when and where born. So it gives the date. I was actually born on the 17th, last Wednesday. And then it says name, if any. Right? Name, if any. That if any is quite important. And then sex, it says anytime.
Yeah, please.
I need new glasses. And then the next one says name and surname of father. What does that tell you?
Father's not a surname.
Boom. Surname is not a name. Okay? Surname is not a name. And normally the surname is written in all capital letters. Whoever did my copy made a mistake, but that's okay. So then we go along a bit. It says when registered, and I was registered on the 20th of August, my birthday. That's when the name was given to the government. I can see I'm not going to talk later on this. So, it stunned me when I first found all this out, and it scared me really, because I realised that there's a lot of stuff going on that is really fraudulent, and so me being me, I don't know anything, so I ask people who know. For instance, I asked my mayor down in Torquay if he'll be my fiduciary. Do you know anybody know what a fiduciary is? A fiduciary is somebody who's going to represent you before himself. Okay? Which is what most people think they're voting for when they vote for someone to go to Parliament. You know, they're going to look after us. They don't. They just represent a thing called the electorate. Okay? Now I know this because I asked my MP. I introduced myself to him. I said, Max Studley, man on the land, inhabitant. I don't know anything about Parliament. I'm ignorant. I don't understand it. And it's like, oh yeah, is that right? I said, but I understand that you have a fiduciary position, and I would like, in front of everybody here, I'd like to appoint you my fiduciary. Do you accept the appointment? I asked him 3 times because 3 is a magic number. And he refused the appointment, and he was quite worried about it. He was quite worried about it. He said, I only represent the electorate. So of course I go straight back to the book. What's an electorate? Anybody know?
Body corporate?
It's an area. That's all. Really, it's just an area. The electorate is an area. So each MD has an electorate, an area.
Not the people. Not the people.
Nothing to do with people at all.
Nope.
I've read the Representation of the People Act, and the only time people are mentioned is in the title and in references to the title. It starts straight away, a person, blah, 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 blah. No people, no man. Well, man, I say men and female.
Is that like a ward?
A ward, yes. Yeah, it is. It's exactly what it is. You know, hospital ward.
Mental ward.
Mental ward, yeah. And you become a ward of the court. So I then thought I'm going to do, well, I talked to the MP a couple of months ago, but a few years ago I decided to do something foolish. I thought, right, okay, I'm going to test all this stuff, and I decided to deregister my car. So I did that by writing to the DVLA and the Lord Adonis it was at the time, and I put my own number plate on the car, which was UCAN 2. I thought it was reasonable. And the police came every day and stood outside the house. What do we do? What do we do? And I was doing a gig one night, and I'd finished the gig, and I was loading the car up, and a couple of drunks came along, and they were looking at the car, and they were going, and this policeman, who happened to be an acting sergeant, which made me like, oh, you're acting, great. He arrested me, and he said, you have the right to remain silent, blah, 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 do you understand? No, I said. Furthermore, I do not accept, stand under, or understand any right you wish to bestow on me. And I said, are you writing this down? He said, I'm not writing that down. I said, well, you're a bloody liar then, because you said you were going to write it down. The upshot of it all was, I eventually got, I don't remember actually saying, no, I won't pay the fine, which was, eventually, when it came to court, there was only one charge, and that was not having insurance. So you can own your own car. They didn't charge me for owning my own car.
But you can't get insurance if you own your own
I
car.
did try. You have to have a registered vehicle, not a conveyance.
It's not private property. It's a
Right.
difference.
I did try.
What about indemnity insurance? Does that not cover anything?
I didn't go down that route.
Fair enough.
So they threw me in Exeter prison. They gave me 28 days for not paying fine, which and I did 14 days because you only do half a sentence. But I got to the prison. They said, "What's your name?" I said, "Well, you brought me here. You must know who I am." And the healthcare lady, who was dressed as a nurse, was the most rude woman I've ever come across. She called me the C word. Right? Stop playing. I was like, whoa, whoa. And they wanted to take my clothes, and I wouldn't. I signed under duress. I signed everything under duress if I had to sign. Right? And this bloke sat opposite me, put his face in mine, and he said, "You're not under duress." I said, "You're not in this body."
Well said.
Right? So I was classed as the eccentric, and they put me in. Well, the first night was quite amusing. You go into a space on your own, so that you get used to being there. And on the form that I had to fill in, it said religion, so I put yes. And they sent a vicar round. Hello. It says on your form you're religious. Could I ask what religion it is? I said, well, I can't actually discuss my religion with anyone who's not in my church. But I understand. And I thought, well, you're a Mason then, aren't you? So, yeah, I spent 14 days in Exeter prison. It was like boarding. I went to boarding school. It was like boarding school. It was a bit silly, really. I wasn't frightened of it or anything. I thought it was going to be. I thought, you know, God, it's prison. They put me in with the murderers and A-wing, it's the heavy wing, and like, you know, non-payment of fine. I felt like an idiot, you know. What are you in for? Well, non-payment of fine, really. Previous non-payment of fine. And, but a lot of them, it went around the prison, what I was doing to them, to the wardens, and had a lot of young lads going, "Here, are you happy with your cellmate?" I said, "Why?" "I want to get inside your head." I thought, thank God. as you would, you know. So I did that. I did 14 days. And when I got out, it was amusing. You know, these things happen. I got a warrant to travel back to Torquay from Exeter. And the fare cost £6.90. And my fine was £690. And I thought, isn't that, you know, it's synchronicity or something? It was fabulous, and that was fun. So I went back to Torquay and I started getting to the council. we've discovered, it's not just me, there's a load of us down there. You can actually watch my antics, many of them, on Talkie Talkie TV YouTube channel. You know, you can see me giving the police my affidavit of knowledge of treason in the town, and please don't do me because I don't want to be done for misprision of treason. And the police are like, what? I got arrested that day as well. It's stupid. It all started with parking. They decided to make our street residence parking. We went along every house in the street, and we got everybody signed. They didn't want it, but we got it. So we thought, well, petitions don't work. So out comes the dictionary, 1890, petition, a prayer or pleading from an inferior to a superior.
There you go.
So forget petitions. They can be rejected. Remember that word, rejected. Protest. Protest. For the experiment. You might not like the way they're doing it, but you're for it. Which means the police, if you go out on the street, they can beat you black and blue. Because you asked for it. And what's the other one? Objection. If you object to something, what happens in the courtroom? If you object,
Gets rejected.
no, not necessarily. You're offering it up for a third party to decide whether it's going to be sustained or overruled. So there's no point in doing that. So what you want them to know is your will. Now the only way you can do that is to write them a notice. Tell them this is my will. A notice of rejection. Now we've been doing it for building. They want to turn Torquay into the new Monaco, the new Monte Carlo. They want to have 14 stories, buildings all around the bay, which if anybody's been to Torquay, you'll know that it's really nice and quiet. And lots of people come there because it's really nice and quiet. And they want to have, I don't know what they want really. But the first time I objected to this, we removed our consent to be governed on this matter. And we went along to a council meeting where the whole council was sitting, and they were basically going to rubber stamp the whole thing. And they had a couple of people sit down and speak their 3 minutes objecting, and the mayor was sitting there, just ready to rubber stamp it really. And I stood up and I said, hang on a minute, hang on. This piece of paper here doesn't mention anything about the people who have withdrawn their consent to be governed on this matter. Would you really like to be quiet, please? So this is on film. This is on the channel. I basically told the mayor I didn't consent, and I said to him, if I accept an order from you, I will be obliged to give you a bill. Meeting adjourned. But I got it in. I haven't had a letter from the council for the last 7 years. Because they know damn well I'm going to give them a bloody order, I'm going to give them a bill, and they're going to have to pay because it's there. So now we're trying to express to people, don't petition, don't object, and don't protest. Imagine, 2 million people went to London for Iraq. You were there. Now, do you know what would have been better? If you'd have sent a recorded delivery notice of rejection of warfare to the Ministry of Defence. Can you imagine it on Monday morning if they'd had 2 million letters of rejection going through their door? And of course you keep a copy, so you can say, hey, did you get my letter?
Original.
Yeah, sorry, you keep the original, send a copy. Thank you for that. And that really is important. It's really important because they rule us by words. I'm not going to tread on the glossy too much because I think Greg's going there. But
Go ahead. Few words.
all of this here, certified copy. That's all capital letters.
Doesn't certify mean if someone's you suspect someone has a mental illness, you certify them? Has that got anything to do with it?
No, it means it's on bonded paper. This one's actually, this one's a photocopy, so it's not bonded, but it's on bonded paper.
They put it on blue paper, don't they? The original of the birth certificate?
I've never seen the original. I don't think anybody's ever seen their original birth certificate.
I've not seen that, but I've done a death certificate this week. And
Well, you haven't seen the original though.
I think I've had to find the original.
Oh yeah. That's right.
Right, yeah, it's yeah, I think it is actually that
It's
colour.
called,
Yeah.
it's duck blue, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's right.
the first one I signed, and I signed it in my purple pen, and he ripped it up.
Yeah, that was a piece of sock. Well done.
Ladies and gentlemen, Queen Paula.
Yeah, and it wasn't that, it was because the ink was fade, because their ink doesn't fade, you see, so he said to me, I can't accept that, he said, because the ink will fade. So he ripped it up, and then started another one. What was really interesting was, though, it comes in the same size sheet, except it's got 3 big holes at the top of it. And obviously I was really paying attention. They wouldn't give me a copy of it, funny enough. I did ask, and it was all the boxes were the same as on the certificate. And when the certificate goes through, it's only got the numbers at the top, and and it says that it's in fact it's just the numbers at the top. Everything else is printed. So those numbers are already pre-printed, and then everything just goes through afterwards.
Right. Okay, I want to go back to the court because there's a very important part of the proceedings. This chap dressed in he was the clerk of the court, you know, with his robe on. I was attached to a mighty security guard who knew Jack Watson, and this chap said to me, my middle name is Stutely, which sounds like a surname. It actually was from an old family name that I was given for some reason. I don't quite know why, because I'm the 4th son. I would have thought, never mind. But he asked me if I was, are you Max Stupican? And of course, I knew that he was reading from his piece of paper. He's reading the glossa. He's reading the all caps name. So, are you this piece of paper? So I said, is that the Sesquiquade Trust that you're administering today? Mouths drop, up they get, and walk out. Now, I was young then, I didn't know anything, and I didn't realise that I'd just taken over the court. It's my court. I should have called them back and said, what are you doing? You're fraud. You're totally fraudulent. What are you doing? But I didn't. Then we got back, they came back, and it was, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Is there anybody here who would swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Explain why.
I'm going to do better than that. I'm going to tell you why Jesus said it. On the Sermon on the Mount, which is, it's recorded twice in the Bible. It's Matthew chapter 5, verse 33 to 37 is the first one. It says, again, ye have heard that it hath been said by them of old time, thou shalt not forswear thyself, but shalt perform unto the Lord. It's not God, it's the Lord. Thine oaths. But I say unto you, Jesus says unto us, swear not at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, neither by the earth, for it is his footstool, neither by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King. Neither shalt thou swear by thy head, because thou canst not make one hair white or black. But let your communication be yes, yea, yes, nay, no. For whatever is more than these cometh of evil. Okay? And James, I'll just go to James because he says it too. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, James. Did you hear that? I just made a new one up. This is a bit shorter. James 12, 5:12. But above all things, my brethren, swear not, neither by heaven, neither by earth, neither by any other oath, but let your yea be yea and your nay be nay, lest ye fall into condemnation. So we're going to go back to chapter 1 of Genesis, where it says, the very first 4 words of this Bible. This is about...
But they've inserted themselves between us and everything we need.
No, they haven't. We've allowed them to do it.
Yes, but they've done it. They've tricked us to do it. That's
Well,
where
of course.
the whole scam.
I mean, if they didn't trick us,
Oh, yeah.
we wouldn't let them do it, would we? There was another bit that I wanted to... I was going to say, this Lord God that He created... this is good. It says... this is in the 2nd chapter of Genesis, where the Lord God, with all capitals, He made the earth. But there went up a mist from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living soul. Man, male. Eve was made later. So I don't know what Eve is about, really. I've never understood women.
Where are you leaving with? You're going to walk out on that one.
That's basically the biblical chicken and egg, isn't it? Because without women, nothing would, no people would be here. So it is, I call that the biblical chicken and egg.
I wasn't there.
Me neither.
Who said you were?
I would say that
Exactly, well, we didn't.
man is a species, it's not gender specific. You've got male and female.
That's right.
Man.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Who here is human? Oh, look at that. You. I don't know why I bothered coming.
Go on, what's human?
Well, human. Hue. Hue is a colour. Like we have the colour of law, human is the colour of man. And human being is the colour of man in existence, brought into existence. Paper is called stationery. I've just seen a lovely bit of paper over here. That's a bit of stationery. And stationery, of course, means still. And every piece of paper stays still, doesn't move, until one of us puts a sign of nature on it, a signature, sign of nature, and we bring it into their world. We bring our world of 3 dimensions into the 2-dimensional world that they've created for us. And so stop using your signature whenever you can. I tend to use an autograph these days.
What's the difference?
What's the difference? My autograph doesn't have a surname.
No bond. Okay.
Of course, if you how do you spell sign? S-I-G-N, it's a silent G. Take the G out, what have you got?
Sin.
Self-ignorant nonsense.
And I've spent some time in Canada, and we have national insurance numbers, and they have SIN numbers. I always, as soon as I heard that, I just burst out laughing. You know, you're all sinners. Yeah. Any questions? I'm quiet really on it. It's confused me.
Did they take your car?
They did take the car. They I wrote a letter, a notice to them saying I didn't carry this out. I was young. I didn't know so much in those days. It's just back in 2009. The recovery company came, took the car after I'd taken all my musical gear out of it, thank God. And so I wrote to them and I said, look, you have conspired with that bloke, this policeman, to take my car. And here's my bill, £300 a day. Okay, that's okay. I think that's cheap. That's, you know, that's reasonable. Reasonable. It's only a Toyota Corolla, you know. And after I sent them a couple of bills, because it started growing up, this price, I got letters from them addressed to, because I was still using the surname, but I was saying of the family Kant, which is my surname, the surname I was given. And they were actually writing letters to me, Max of the family, which was great. And they said, please don't write to us anymore. And the policeman came to my door and he said, if you send another letter, it's harassment. Now, as I say, I was really young. I should have hammered them. I should have hammered them. And you know, these days I would. But
You still can because there is no statute. It's not statute.
Yeah, it's not as you do.
I told the police, the acting police sergeant, I said, it might take 10 years, it might take 20, but you're going to get done for this. He went, So that's my story, really, and I'm still pushing, trying to find where the limits are. And guess what? There aren't any. We are. We make it all happen. Without us, nothing happens. Exactly. It's great.
Max, are you still travelling or you?
Well, I got here. I haven't been. It's a drag, you know. The music. I tend to play pubs, clubs, bars, whatever. I've done it all my life, and it's fallen off. Nobody wants me anymore.
Oh, I have you.
I've got my guitar now. You know, as you go to pubs these days, and this pub's great. This is a live music pub, and they are few and far between these days. Pubs have been turned into restaurants, karaoke, open mic nights, which means that the landlord doesn't have to pay, and therefore I think you'll see the standard of music has dropped rather tremendously. I like to think, I don't know if I'm right in this, but I like to think there are three kinds of people in this world. There are those that have and those that have not, and in the middle of those there's troubadours who go around telling people about stuff. But it doesn't happen anymore because people watch television. People aren't listening to the troubadours and the storytellers anymore. We need the storytellers back. We need our history to be told. I remember a story I was told years ago about an Aborigine in Australia. And apparently what they do, when they go somewhere, they sing. They're walking along and they're singing their route so they know where they're going. It's a bit like bees. You know, when the bee comes back to the hive, it does a little dance. And this Aborigine was taken somewhere, and this white said, "Can you take me to this place you've been? I'll take you in the Land Rover." So he gets in the Land Rover. They start driving, and the Aborigine goes, singing a song. And I think we've got to get back somehow to some communication between each other. We've got to teach each other what we all know.
From here.
From here, yeah. I felt like an idiot doing all these things, and then I found out an idiot is a private man who's not running for office, public office. I thought, oh, I am an idiot. So there we are, I'm an idiot, and I hope you all are as well. Any other questions?
Max, can I just ask, you talking about in that Bible it refers to God as the Lord God?
Yes.
But is
That's
there a
not
Bible?
that's not God.
No, exactly. Where's, because you said about it's really important to read the Bible, where's the Bible that just talks about God?
I don't think there is one. I would go so far as to say, I think what that's describing, the first chapter of Genesis going into the second, is I think a long time ago we just went around the planet living quite happily with the animals and eating off the land in abundance.
Yeah.
And then along comes the Lord God, who tills the ground and starts putting all the food in a lockup and says, this costs. And we've got commerce, and we're having to buy food. And I think that's what that is describing. And I think probably about 10,000, 15,000 years ago, I don't know. I may have been there, because I think we're all immortal. I think every part of us, it's been here since time immemorial. Now, anybody know when time immemorial is? You'll like this. I did. July the 6th, 1196. Anything before that date is time immemorial. Legally, 1196. That's when the legal world put its mark down. We start now. Okay? Legal, of course, comes from I think 1196. I think it was
July.
6th of July.
6th of July.
It was the coronation of whichever king it was, and I know I should know because I went to school
Was
here.
it Henry?
I think it was Henry II.
Yeah, second.
Henry II. 6th of July, 1196. I think 1194, 1196, somewhere around there. I'm hopeless with dates. In the 15th.
What happened 100 years after? 1296.
Well, 1296, where we had the statute of the Magna Carta, 1297. Going back to Bibles, the first Bible in English on general sale was the Bishop's Bible from about 1540, and then King James came down and got rid of England. Everybody remember that? England sort of vanished as a country, as a political country, and became the United Kingdom. And that's when we got the double cross. Everybody know what the double cross is?
Flag of Scotland.
You see it every bloody day.
Yeah.
The Union flag. It's 2 crosses. Curiously, the Queen has 3 helicopters. She used to have the Queen's flight, but now she's got 3 helicopters, private helicopters, and their registration numbers are GXXEA, GXXEB, and GXXEC. She's flying the double cross.
City most code as well, isn't it?
There you go. So there you go. We're being royally screwed. And
I can help with that.
I can leave it with that. That would bring Greg in, I think, quite nicely, wouldn't it? Right, royally screwed. So that's my little bit. If anybody's got any questions.
You mentioned about CK Trust.
Yes.
That actually belongs to us. But you have to claim it back.
Right, we know.
Yes.
That's what I'm going to do.
Good. Have a chat with that young lady there.
Yeah, I know, but that is everybody's property.
Yes.
They, on presumption, they're using that. Well, they just think we're incompetent. We have to.
Well, we are.
We have to show them.
We are. Because we're incompetent because we keep saying yes, yes, you can look after us. Until we start saying no, we're looking after ourselves.
That's what to say. I'm
Yeah.
competent to look after. I don't need you to look after my affairs.
Yeah, and last Wednesday we were talking about the Bradbury Pound. I went to the UK column meeting down in Plimpton, and I'm not sure that Bradbury Pound is exactly what we're after, but a local currency, that everything stays in one area. You know, we can go local again. I don't see why we shouldn't go local again. Keep things local.
My roof, and I'll fix your garden.
Things like that. Yeah. I'm only good at playing music, so while you're fixing my roof, I'll sing to you.
Got strings attached there, didn't you?
I got strings attached. Okay. Well, thank you very much for listening, and thanks for having me.
Debt Free TV, in association with GetOutOfDebtFree.org.